First episode of 2025. Here we are. We made it to a new year. I'm Chris. I'm still the Longbox Punk, and I am joined by Ian Mondrick on this first episode. Dude, thank you so much for hanging out with me, spending some time on a Sunday. I don't know if your Sunday is like mine, but I am looking at white death just falling outside.
So we got a winter emergency warning coming early, late tonight, early in the morning.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is somehow made worse that it is the last day of winter break for my kids.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Tomorrow is the big hey guys, we got to get up at 6. I got to get you on the bus at 7. And now it's except maybe not. Maybe it'll be 8. Maybe you won't have to go at all. And it's just I would rather just have it. I would rather not have the winter advisory. I work from home. I don't mind snow that much. But I would rather just have a clear cut, we're getting up tomorrow and everything's continuing as normal. So,
yeah.
How many inches you got outside? Is it accumulating?
So, it's accumulating. It started maybe an hour ago. Okay. So you can still see the tops of the grass, but the road and the driveway and the sidewalks are all covered. I am a winter person. I love snow. I love the cold air. I love stepping outside and getting that brisk, just I love that.
It is easier to get warm than it is to get cold.
Yes.
Right. I can come inside, throw some blankets on, but when it's hot, it's just oh man, it's just killer. I'm not going to go as far to say that I'm a winter person. I exist ideally in a realm called hoodie weather.
Oh yeah.
Right. If I can just wear a hoodie, that's the perfect weather. I spent a little time in Seattle for Emerald City Comic-Con, and that was this might be it. Seattle in March was every day like this. I mean, not every day, but I could take that.
Rain and coffee, man. They've got it both.
And yeah, that's true. The two fluids that Seattle runs on.
Right.
I'm so happy to be your first show of the year. I didn't make any resolutions. I'm not a resolution person, but my wife and I were having a conversation yesterday that we just kind of feel this renewed sense of vigor. We got through the holidays, we got through this terrible year, and it's we are ready to start organizing the house and starting some projects and stuff like that. And I feel the same way. I mean, obviously I feel the same way. I started a project today, but it feels good. It feels good to be in a new year. It does feel like a fresh start. And it normally for me doesn't feel like that.
Mm. What's different about this year? Is it just a perspective that you've had, or just being intentional with talking to your wife about it?
I think it is just the perspective, right? I think someone said something, or I read something a while ago. There's a difference between getting older and maturing.
Yeah.
Right. Or getting older and aging or whatever. And I feel it's just I think a lot of people get to the incredibly advanced age of 47, like me, and feel I know enough. I know how the world works. I don't need any new things. I don't need any new art. And I think that's the big mistake, right? And I think the idea is to keep growing and keep learning and keep realizing that you have stuff to learn.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's less superstitious and more kind of hey, here's a starting point on the calendar. Let's use that as a starting point for projects in our personal life and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, I love it. And also I just want to sound off here. I'm sure our friend Gorefist in Texas doesn't have the snow that we do, and if you do, oh God, there's bigger issues. And then we also have my pal Chris, who agrees, I believe, with the hoodie weather. He is in Oklahoma, so he's usually dying in shorts and t-shirts. I can only just super hot, right? So with the starting the new year thing, I do video production as well. This is what my degree is in, even though I work for a bank. I'm not dying inside, you are. But because I'm in video production, we got to get there 2 hours early for call time, make sure all the tech is set up and wires are happy and all the things. And I just had this weird introspective moment yesterday before. So I do local sports productions for Miami University. And so I was in the giant arena, and there were 2 people down on the court throwing, shooting baskets. And I just had this moment, setting up the cameras and tweaking the tripod, because I'm very particular. Thanks, Mom, OCD. And I just had this moment of there's this calm expectancy of like, this is going to be a good day. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good production, like all these things. And I just had this like weird, I know we're already into the new year and it's not New Year's Day specifically, but like this is kind of the feel that I have for this year as well. Of just like there's this calm expectancy where like it's gonna get crazy, things are gonna get busy, like my director's gonna be yelling in my ear, like get the shot, and like that's totally fine because at the end of it, we're gonna be able to look back and be like, that was a really good production. And I, for some reason, like had that. I just hope that that's what this year feels like. And then, ignoring all of the dread that I also have around this year of just like, a lot of things I feel like are going to be changing for me this year. So I don't know. I don't do like New Year's resolutions, but I try and have like a focus or a theme every year. And this year, my focus is going to be on intentionality. So being very intentional with my time, with my resources, with where I'm spending my energy. Like, I don't want to just doom scroll for 4 hours. I'd rather be
yes.
like, I don't want to just be content with getting off work, sitting on the couch, and my wife and I both being on our phones with whatever Ghost Adventures episode we're on, and just like doing that all evening. Like, let's put them down and build a puzzle together so that we have to talk to each other, like stuff like that, of just being intentional with what I'm doing. And if that means that I don't get to be lazy, okay, like that's my goal. So,
yeah, I think it's important to kind of, I think it's important to kind of take self-inventory, right? And like what you were saying about, I don't want to doom scroll for 4 hours. Yeah, that is I lose time not in like the things that I like doing, because if I'm, you can spend too much time playing video games, but if you like playing video games, then you should definitely do that.
Yeah.
I lose so much time in the little like, hey, I just got out of the shower and I'm just going to stare at my phone for 20 minutes while, you know what I mean? It's like, stop doing that. Like there are times when you can get that stuff in or whatever, but I try to have those, as you were saying, intentionality. I try to have those conscious moments of like, now I need a break. Right. Yep. Like now I need 20 minutes to like shut down and kind of like restart my system, or I need like 15 minutes just like with no one talking to me or asking me for anything. And I want to take those consciously, intentionally, rather than just like have them appear at random. And before I know it, an hour is gone by. Right. Because like I'm comfortable in this space. So, yeah, it's, and I know it's a cliche, but there's never really enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
Like we've got so many things, especially when you're creative and when you're trying to produce art of any kind. It's very difficult to like not fill up every hour of every day. Right. And I mean, sometimes those days are great and we go to bed really tired, but you do need period to reflect. You do need to sit down and watch 3 reruns of Night Court in a row. Because you're on season 9 and you're 20 episodes away from the end and it's been a long 4 weeks. So those kind of things.
Sounds very non-specific at all.
It's not specific at all. In the least bit, it's not specific. I wish we had enough time because you brought up Ghost Adventures, and man, do I love to talk about Ghost Adventures. But
I love that show.
Chris, I do not love that show, but I love talking about it. So we have to reconvene at some point in time, either on camera or off, because I would love to talk to you about Ghost Adventures. It's actually playing my wife's love of Ghost Adventures is actually playing very heavily into an idea that I'm kind of like kicking around right now.
Okay.
So I don't really have enough to say on it yet, but oh boy, man, that is that Ghost Adventures has been heavy right here in my head for a while.
I love it, dude. I am a long-standing fan of that show. And we're not going to derail this because
Zach Baggins is a character. He is a character.
Yes. And he knows it.
He
and
does.
All right. So we'll talk about it for like whatever. So I've been watching it since the beginning, and they're now on season like 28, I think. They're getting more intentional as in these last like 2 seasons, where instead of doing like, we're going to set up whatever we're doing and have this dramatic, like, they used to show like, basically a sizzle reel of here's what you're going to see this episode of, like some really great stuff. Stay tuned to see Aaron freak out and whatever. Well, now they're doing these like sometimes voiceover, sometimes him standing in like a very high contrast looking, like they've tweaked the film so that and he's like, smolder, and he'll give this like very dramatic, that's why we're here. And I like, dude, I love that. Like, it's so cheesy, but I love it. And then they're including stuff with their personalities of just being goofballs. And like Zach will tell some really terrible dad jokes, and they include those now. And I love that they're doing that instead of just like, they're leaning into the fact that like we're a TV show,
right?
And yes, we're people, but like these are also our characters. And so they're showing more of that, and I eat it up, dude. I love it.
I do. I don't know if this reference tracks anymore, but Zach Baggins has always had big Chris Angel energy.
Yes.
To me. Do you know what I mean?
I love it too.
No,
mind freak.
Well, he was. So I lived in Vegas for a couple of years, and he was very big out there at the time. So it was very hard to escape giant, like 20-foot ads of a shirtless Chris Angel.
Yeah.
Trying to mind freak you from the side of MGM Grand or something.
Yeah, it's great. The one time I've been in Vegas, his show is dark, and I was so upset. I was like, the one show I want to see is I want to see Killer Magic from Chris Angel, and it was dark.
don't feel bad, man. I lived there for about 4 years, and I didn't see one show the entire time.
Really?
And people were like, "Didn't you want to go?" And I was like, "No, I wanted to go to a bunch. I just never went." There's a pinball museum out there.
Yeah.
Never went. I was foolish in my youth. And when I say youth, I mean the early 30s.
Sure. That counts. So speaking of like early 30s and origin stories, you wanted to talk music.
I wanted to talk about punk rock.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I grew up in the 80s, but like I kind of came of age in the 90s, and I was big into the third wave of punk rock. Like, I guess like my best sort of like my origin story for punk rock would be I saw Green Day for $3 at a college gymnasium.
Yeah, you did.
Right, like with two local bands, and they just and then I saw them in like March. And then I saw them, this was 94. This was the year that Dookie came out. So in March, the ticket was $3 in a gymnasium. In July, the ticket was $25, and they were playing in a legitimate venue. And that's what a couple of videos on MTV. But I kind of wanted to talk to you as someone who's much more in the community than I am. Like where do I, like, what is the main vein of punk rock in the year of our Lord 2025? Like, where do I go? Because I've got likes from the third wave stuff to like hardcore, like Minor Threat and the Gorilla Biscuits, from back in the 80s and 90s. And one of my favorite bands is Quicksand, which is like a more hardcore band. I saw them with The Offspring and No Use for a Name and those. So it's like to me the sound is very varied. And I got off the train around like the post third wave, like Good Charlotte era. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you're familiar with those guys, but right. So,
yes.
So my question is, and for my own purposes, I guess, is like what should I be listening to? Like, who are the bands? Because I'm 100% out of it right now, and I want to get back in.
So that's a weighted question. So our Venn diagrams overlap just a little bit. When you were getting out of it is when I was starting and really getting into it. So I started, I didn't realize there was that like 10-year age gap between us, but there is. So I was getting into punk. Like Rancid was one of the first bands that just grabbed me, and I was like, holy shit, this is incredible music. It's different. Like my sister was big into, she's 3 years older than me. So she was just 3 years ahead of me. Right. So she was listening to like Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Nirvana. And for me, it was like, that's good because my sister's listening to it, so it's got to be cool. But then like, I don't want to just listen to my sister's music. Like, that's lame. So I started listening to like Smashing Pumpkins. That was the first band that I was like, I'm choosing this band.
Siamese Dream or Melancholy?
Melancholy.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so like it just stuck with me. And so then it was like, well, if this is a band that I can choose, like who else can I choose? And so then I got into like industrial, like with Orgy, and like fast forwarding a little bit into like I had discovered Rancid and they stayed, But
Right.
then I was getting into like the new metal stuff. So it's
Oh, all
really
right.
big into like Korn and Slipknot and Mushroom Head because they were just so weird and so different. But then I was also like, yeah, but there's this band like We Are Scientists and they're very indie rock. And like it just kind of spiraled. I was a member of the Columbia House Record Club.
So was I.
And I would do the like 12 CDs for a
Mm-hmm.
penny each and pay the
I have many of them.
$27.99 for
I
shipping.
have many of those. Yeah.
So I went into high school and I owned less than 12 CDs. I graduated as a senior with over 600. And it's because of Columbia House.
Yeah,
Because
man.
I was just doing that all the time. So now, for me, the way that I'm finding new bands is it's kind of like threefold. So I'm very intentional again on Spotify of like I don't want to listen to the same stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm always going to be able to turn on any Rancid album, any Newfound Glory just about album, and I'm going to love it. But like what I want to listen to new stuff. So how do I find that? And the algorithm is very much skewed to like, you like this, here's more of that. You like this other thing, here's more of that. It's not like, yeah, but you also might like this. It's terrible at that part. So I will go to the way that I have discovered the most new music is I will go on into a band that I know and I'll scroll down to the bottom. I'm a Spotify person.
So am I.
And you can listen to the show right now on Spotify if you are. Thanks. And you can scroll down into like the similar artists, right? And I'll find one that I'm like, oh yeah, I know them. I like them. And so I'll select them and I'll do that again. And then I'll be like, I don't know that band. And so I'll click that and I'll listen to a track or two to see if I'm in the right direction. But I'll basically keep doing that until every band on the similar artists is a band I don't know. And then I'll go through and I'll create a playlist of all of those bands' music. And then I'll listen to it, find out what I like, and then go to like that artist radio and then discover new music from there. Sometimes it's actually new music. Sometimes it's like, I have a new favorite band. Oh, this came out in 2007.
Yeah.
Dang it.
And they haven't put out a new album since, and you're like, no. So I used to do that, I think, a couple of years back when I was in like the Apple iMusic days before I switched over to Spotify.
Yeah.
And I have a similar, I'm a big playlist guy.
Yeah.
So, when I mean playlist, like I have a playlist like with everything that I like, which is like 1,700 songs. And then I have like, I'm taking a 10-minute trip to the grocery store. What are like the 4 or 5 hot tracks that I want to hear in the car on the way there and back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of break it down like that. And when you let those go, Spotify will just kind of freestyle and be like, oh, well, that playlist is over, but let's throw you some more stuff. Yeah. And man, like I'll just be sitting here working and I'll hear something and be like, what is this? And then I look and I'm like, oh, I'm off my playlist now. I'm like, I'm in the woods. And it's some I did radio for about college radio for about 14 years, right? Yeah. Like, and I started playing punk, and then I started DJing in clubs for a while. So I was playing mostly techno music on my show because I was bringing in guest DJs.
Yeah.
And through the entire, like all of that process, I just became like, and I know everyone's eclectic these days. So I know that's not really like a brag, but like my For You suggestions on Spotify changed so much because it's like, I'll be listening to like drum and bass and hard house so much one week, or I'll be listening to like, like grunge from like mid 90s, and, or I'm primarily listening to a lot of hip hop, and like Spotify is really good at throwing hip hop recommendations at you. So there's just like a ton of stuff, and there's always new music. And again, that goes back to earlier, like opening yourself up to new things. I have a lot of friends who are hip hop heads, and they're like, hip hop was the best in '96. It never got any better except for maybe these 2 or 3 artists, and like most of it's garbage. And it's like, it's not. There's so much great like stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it just takes like a little bit of hunting and pecking, and that doesn't happen anymore because like you don't get it fed to you anymore by MTV or the radio. Yeah. So like you just kind of like, when you're left to your own devices, you either listen to the same stuff or you try to branch out.
So I love what Chris is saying here, looking at who's touring with bands that I like and then checking out those bands. So I did the same thing. I don't know if you have this experience. My wife and I don't always want to go to the same shows. And so I have a concert buddy that is my designated, like, oh, you don't want to go see this band. Okay, I'll call my pal. and we'll go hang out, and he and I have overlaps, but like I have a very distinct direction that I like to go, and he has another one. And so sometimes when those concerts overlap, we went to the Adobe Radio, which you can get an app for, and it's totally free to listen. They have a ton of different stations. I listen to them now because of the concert that we went to last year, where it was like the summer school concert and it had Stand Atlantic on it. And I was like, I really like that band, but like, I don't really know any of the other bands that are on this tour. And so we went, and half the other bands, I would pull them up on Spotify during the show, like, oh, I got to mark this on my new to listen to playlist. And I was like, oh, I already have some of their stuff on my, I know this band. And he was like, dude, I swear to, like, come on, man. And then the next song would be the one I'm like, no, I know this is the song I know. And it's because of that, like, recommended or suggested songs and all of that stuff that it just kind of skirts around the outside of where you're listening.
That was how I got turned on to 1000 Gex.
Okay.
Because I'm a big Nine Inch Nails fan.
Yeah.
And I was like, someone was like, hey, they're touring right now. And I was like, who are they touring with? And I'm looking around and I'm like, what's 1000 Gex? And I listened to it and I was like, I completely understand why Trent Reznor would bring these. They don't sound similar to Nine Inch Nails, but like you go, I completely understand why this guy likes having them around. And I turns out I like having them around too. Their album's pretty good.
Yeah. They're a band that I've heard of. I just haven't actually given them time. So 1000 Gex.
They sound like kids having a ton of fun. I want to go back real quick. I released an art book today on Kickstarter. I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. I'm having too much fun talking about everything else. The Rancid thing is so funny to me because I like Rancid very much, but Rancid to me was the successor to Operation Ivy.
Yeah.
And Operation Ivy was the band I liked first. And it was like, no, they're not making any more albums. Yeah. And I like Rancid. I don't like them as much. And I'm curious too, like when you hear stuff that they do or bands like that do now, does Rancid seem like stripped down to you or old or like the production sound? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't sound as good because that's the way Operation Ivy sounds to me compared to Rancid. Like Operation Ivy sounds raw, like it was recorded in somebody's bedroom. Yeah. And I was like, I love this sound. And there's another band like that, Sublime. Like Sublime's first album, 40 Ounces to Freedom. It's like this is a bunch of dudes in somebody's living room.
They're hanging out in somebody's basement right now.
Right. And when their first like self-titled album comes out, it's like in a studio and they've got mixing and production, and you're like, I like the music.
Yeah.
I really do like it when they're in their bedroom though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely know bands can be overproduced.
Yes.
And there are albums of Rancids that I feel have been overproduced, but I think because they were the band for me that like got me into everything punk rock. Like once I found Rancid, then I was like, oh my God, what else? And so then I found Operation Ivy, and then I started spreading out and around and got into like the Descendants and NoFX and like even, got into the like 80s punk and then some of the hardcore punk stuff. And then was like, well, there's still hardcore stuff now. And then like that led me into screamo and some emo stuff. And then it came back around to, in a weird way, back to the like pop punk stuff of like Simple Plan and Good Charlotte and Newfound Glory. And then I was like, this is super fun and dancey and I'm not angry yet. So this is what I'm going to listen to. And then as I got through college, then it was like, I'm angry. Give me all the screamo you have.
Right.
And so I did a really heavy like time in college where I was either listening to just like death metal screamo stuff or super happy synth pop stuff like Hello Goodbye. And like, I just was one or the other.
Yeah, it's okay.
So,
we all have moods, and I think it's okay to have soundtracks to those moods. You know what I mean? Like, I've got like an instrumental playlist for cleaning the house. I've got an instrumental playlist for when I'm writing, and they don't have the same songs on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I became a My Chemical Romance fan, speaking of emo, in the funniest way possible. I had never heard one of their songs, and then I read The Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, "Oh, do you like My Chemical?" And I was like, "I don't know what." And then they explained it to me, and then I went and listened to them. And this is in like the LimeWire BitTorrent days. So I didn't go to a streaming service. I just went to and like downloaded the entire discography, and then picked out 15 songs that I liked, and then listened to those. And you sheepishly begin telling people like, "Oh yeah, I've been like listening to this, this band like Chemical Romance," and people would be like, "Those emo like dorks," and I'm like,
yeah.
And I didn't get it. And then I looked up the video and I saw like the eye make and everything. I was like, oh. Like, yeah, I would probably have the same reaction if I saw those guys before I heard them as well. But it was such a wonderful surprise to kind of come at it from the kind of like the back door, you know what I mean? And I'm a fan of the band because of his writing chops. Yeah. Also, just some of the greatest song titles ever.
Right? That was a whole like subgenre of the like emo pop punk thing, was like, let's make a sentence and a half story in a song title. And like Fall Out Boy did the same thing, where it was like, our lawyer made us change the name of this song so that nobody would sue us. And it's like, what? Okay.
The first time I remember seeing that, it was like the second Pearl Jam album. There's some song that's like, elderly woman in the kitchen washing her dishes and looking out the window or something like that. And I was like, that's a very long song title.
Yeah. Yep. That. And so I also, we have so much in common. I also did college radio. I'm actually drinking out of my college radio station that gave me my first paid radio.
Can you do the station tag real quick? What's the station tag?
Well, I could, but they haven't been around for like 12 years. They got bought out by a Bible radio station. But WNKU so I went to Northern Kentucky University.
Oh, right.
That's where I graduated from. And WNKU was known for being like very indie, very folksy, very bluesy. And so I got a ton, like I have a whole playlist in my iTunes library, when that was the thing that mattered, of just WNKU music, because I would go into the music library and the music director was totally on my side, and he was like, "Yeah, man, take whatever you want. Like, this is just good music. We have the rights to it, so I can give it to you." And I was like, sweet. So I got a ton of music from the music library, and I have a whole playlist of just WNKU music. And when I want to just kick back and relax, that's what I listen to, because it still is just like, man, those were easier times. I thought I was going to be a radio personality forever, and I had all these high hopes. And I graduated and was like, "You're going to pay me $7.35 an hour to work the overnight shift? No, thank you."
Yeah. So back in my radio days, this is pre-digital, so everything was analog. So I have probably about 75 cassettes of record of my, like, which are all just decomposing somewhere in an attic.
Yeah.
But I was able to, through the miracle of modern technology, like get a couple of them on MP3, so I could have some memories and stuff like that. But like the college radio days. I wanted to take. I actually know the guy who does my old time slot.
Oh, really?
And he still does it after all these years. And I called him the one night because I was going to bring my son over and like show him the radio station, and some other dude answered, and I was like, "Is Steve there?" And he's like, "No, he's not." And I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "He just emails his show to us. He doesn't actually show up live." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so incredibly dumb." Like, like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, like the world has not moved on. He still shows up and like plays records and CDs. Yeah. And it's like, why would he do like? And I was like, oh, I guess it's not like it used to be. So we didn't end up going. But
that's too bad.
Which is very nice and very efficient, but also a little sad. Like I did the 11 to 1 on Saturday night. I missed Saturday Night Live every week for like 10 years.
Yeah. That's probably when it was like much better than it currently is.
Saturday Night Live's always good. It's the third conversation we'll have is about Saturday Night Live.
Great.
Right after we do Zach Baggins.
Right after we do that. But first, let's talk about Mongoose, huh?
Sure.
Look at that transition.
Yeah, look at this live prop I have right here, the actual book already.
Look at it. Yeah. That's insane. It's already printed and done. And
we had test prints done. There's going to be a couple of small changes and stuff like that. But it's a beautiful book. It was important to us, to me and my mom, to like make sure that like it was a high quality book, and we were both happy with the way it looked. So the printing company we went with, we had like a small test run done of like 6 or 7 books, and it's great. It's really exciting. Awesome. It's a 150 page black and white book of the artwork that my father did across his entire life. Starting in he was born in the early 50s, but this is probably starting in like the mid to late 60s, and then going probably right up to around like the middle aughts.
Okay.
And it's everything from like there's some children's art that he did in there. There's some pieces that he did for the art classes when he was in college. There's really, very detailed, really exquisite pieces that he did for friends that are hanging up in like some of his friends' houses, which I had to like go and track down and scan them and take them somewhere to be scanned and bring them back. And it's been really great cataloging it all, but it really is, it's just full of everything. There's essays in there from me and my mom and his sister and people that he served in the military with. It's a very, obviously it's a very personal project, but we wouldn't have gone to Kickstarter with it if we didn't think there was something in there for other people to enjoy and hopefully, I guess, cherish like we do. But
yeah. And I mentioned this, we're going to get emotional, or at least I am, because, I wear my heart on my sleeve, but it's such a really, like, I don't even know the right word for it, but it's such an impactful project to put together, to see like, yeah, this is my dad's artwork, like cataloging it, looking at it, going through everything, talking to family and old friends of his to get the stories that are included in it. It just like, it has me. My dad also does like colored pencil artwork, and especially in the last like 4 or 5 years has really ramped up, and it's just since he retired and just like cranks them out like crazy. And so it has me thinking about like my dad's art of like, oh, like once, he can't just like show me his giant book of like, yeah, here's the 17 pictures I did last Tuesday. Like going through it and just seeing what he created, because everybody has their own like artistic style and flavor and subject matter sometimes, or like, genre that they like to draw in. And looking through the art that's in this book is just like, there's everything. Like what was it like growing up with your dad? Like, did you know growing up with him that he was just always creating all of this artwork all the time?
Yeah, he was prolific in a lot of ways. He was also very talented at writing as well, but he didn't do that nearly as much. I was a latchkey kid.
Okay.
So when I was old enough to come home from school by myself, I would get home at about 3:30, and my father left for work at about like 3:15. So during the week, like I really wouldn't see him at all because he wouldn't get home until like after midnight, and I was still in school. I think one of the things that led to me becoming a writer was like he would always write me a note every day, and it wasn't like a post-it note. It was like a half sheet page of like, okay, him like talking about like his day or whatever. And then when I got a little bit older, like old enough to get an allowance, at the end of every note there would be a vocabulary word that he would literally copy out of the dictionary. And then after I did all the stuff I had to do on the weekend for my chores, he would sit me down and he would like, all right, what were the 5 words? And I have to tell him what they were, and I have to, give him a definition. Oh, wow. And that was like the vocabulary building. But on top of that, he was always like doodling little sketches on the side and like making little intonations. And then he would, a big part of it was he had these forms, these like half sheet page forms, and they had at work in the post office. And they had a really big notes section at the bottom, like a big square sheet. And many of the, like almost all of those are in the book. But he would just doodle on those. And then after a while, he would just bring them home and show them to us. So it was just this thing where like his art was hanging on the walls, and he was always doodling, and you'd always see like traces. Like if you tried to pick up a crossword puzzle, you'd see like a self-portrait profile of him in like the margins somewhere. But the craziest thing about it, and I'd like to know this about your dad as well, like he never, ever, besides showing it to us, like never was interested in doing anything with it beyond that. It was always just this thing that I kind of did for fun. And I think that's great. I think that is art for art's sake is what the purpose is. Yeah. Anything you do after that is fine as long as it's what you want to do with it. But I was always just like, I have so much talent and I'd love for so many more people to see these. And well, just real quick. So what about your father? Does he post them on social media? Does he do any of that stuff? Is it?
So he doesn't do any social media stuff. He like, so my stepmom has gone through just like years and years of cancer treatment. And so they drive 2 hours north to Columbus. Like, they were doing it once a week. Now she's changed medications, but when they were in and she was getting her infusions, he would be sitting in the room where she was at, just doing these sketches. And it could be like, now he's done where he just has insomnia. And so he's up at like 3 a.m. and will text me random stuff, but
That's
or
great.
like email me random things. I'm like, Dad, what the hell are you doing at 3:24? Why are you emailing me right now? But
Yeah.
he'll like, that's when he'll do his art, and he'll just take either, like, he does a lot of landscapes. So and they're just stuck in his head. And some of them are like places he's been. Some of them are just pictures that he saw in like, some sort of like landscape or photography book like 35 years ago, that he just remembers. It's like, that was a really pretty landscape. What if I just did that? And it like, he just recreates it with these colored pencils, and he just does it to do it. It's the art for art's sake.
Yeah.
And one of the nurses that was like tending to my stepmom, stopped and was like, holy crap, like, what are you doing? He was like, oh, I just like do the thing. And she was like, is that like, do you always do this? He was like, yeah, I have a whole like booklet portfolio thing of them that I finish them and I put them in there, and that's what they do. And she was like, I would love to buy some of these. And he had never thought about selling them until she said that. And then suddenly he was like, people would want these? What? And so he sold her 2 of them, and she's going to commission him to do a third one of like a family vacation spot that they always used to go to. But yeah, he just does it to do it. And like, it's just he shows close friends and the family, and apparently the nurses at OSU. And like, that's what he does.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's such a humbleness in that. There's such a, and I, come to think about it, I think that most of the indie comics crowd, I think essentially that's what we're doing, right? I think we are making art for art's sake, but the Kickstarters and the crowdfunders, those are the things that help facilitate it, right? Because a comic book isn't something that you can pay to have made just to look at for yourself. It's not financially viable for a lot of people,
right?
But I mean, really, like what I do with all of the Toon books, and what I'll be doing later this, or I guess probably next month, with Stashbox and with Mongoose, it's all just kind of like, I want this to be a real thing. And and not necessarily in the case of Mongoose, but like, I just need other people's help to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sell it to you, but if you want to help bring it to life, then you're free to do that. And, hopefully you'll enjoy it. But that was the really nice thing about Mongoose, is because it's been 2 years since I've run a Kickstarter, and I'm kind of surprised at how stress-free it's been for me. And the reason for that is because like, this book just started with my mom like saying like, hey, can we scan all this stuff? Cause like, I don't want to lose it, in case of a fire or just the ravages of time or whatever.
Yeah.
So I started scanning everything in, and then I realized like, well, a pile of paper sitting in an attic, or a thumb drive sitting on someone's desk drawer somewhere, it's like, I don't think that's like the right place for this to end up. So, I found someone to do the design work. We kind of put everything together. I got all the essays, I compiled everything, which is, just project manager stuff that, you're used to if you've done comics before.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that I was speaking with my mom earlier today, and it's like, look, if the Kickstarter doesn't fund, like, it's not a tragedy. Like, the book still exists, right? And like, we can make the changes we need to make. We can do a small print run, and we can just kind of give them away to friends and family members.
Yeah.
And, maybe I can print a couple of extra. If I decide to start tabling in the future, I can sell a couple of there. But I think like, the victory for me was the book coming together, and it took a long time to get it together. But now that it's like, this is just kind of a victory lap. And I don't mean that to take lightly everyone's support of the Kickstarter or whatever, because I'm really excited to show it to everybody. But, in the end, if we come up short, it exists. It's already a thing, and it'll be on my shelf. It might not be on anyone else's, but that's okay. Because again, like, the deal is not to monetize it. The deal is not to like make a quick buck off of my dad's work. The deal is to just kind of celebrate it and share it with everybody. Yeah. So So far it's been a lot less stressful than most first days of Kickstarters for me.
It's good.
Yeah, which I'll take.
It just launched like what, 3 hours ago?
Yeah, I initially was going to launch it on Monday, and then I thought ahead of the show, I was like, well, it doesn't. I'm doing an abbreviated campaign anyway. I'm not doing a full 30 days because I want to do a really, really tight turnaround. The goal is if we hit funding, I'll probably place the order for the books as soon as we hit our goal. And I want to turn it around by the end of February because I have another project I want to launch. So I've gone from like nothing for the past 2 years to like, 2 in the space of 2 months.
Yeah, that's totally normal.
It's fine. Yeah. I've been saving up a lot of work, you know what I mean? But everything's kind of coming to fruition now. And I'm really excited about it. And I guess the other bonus thing is like, I'll be going right back into funding a comic. And like, this is like a great chance for me to like stretch my legs and be able to talk about my work again. And it gives me a really good reason to be more active in the community, which is something like for the end of 2024, I felt really bad at. Yeah, I guess fresh starts, right? We were just talking about that.
Right. Super intentional. And I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's over here feeling the feels. Cause like, it like hearing you talk about it. And even when you first emailed me about it, I was just like, dude, this is such like, this feels like it just is more than just like, hey, I made a comic and I want people to read it. This is like, I'm going to open my family's history and like my family's story to you, because this is the stuff that my dad was doing and would share with us as kid, like all of the things that now you're like, no, hey, like, look, look and enjoy. And it just like, for me, who like, we don't know each other personally, and we've interacted before, sure, but like getting to see this glimpse into what you grew up with and like what your dad was doing for art's sake is like, it really is beautiful. Like, it's just such a cool project. And so I love that it's already a thing. And I love that it's not giving you extra like Kickstarter day one anxiety.
Well, thank you. That's, I think one of the reasons it took so long to get together is because it was such an emotional project. You know what I mean? Like, I wrote 2, I guess, little essays or whatever. And they're basically just, one is like a specific anecdote about my father. And the other one is just kind of about all of the movies that he took me to that I should not have seen. Right. Like, he took me to see Cronenberg's The Fly when I was 9 years old. And like, if you had asked me, like, I don't think that was a good idea. It was a great idea. Right. Like that is the right kind of screwed up I want to get when I'm 9 years old. Like, and that's, the reason I'm able to kind of, do the stuff I do in horror now. But like those stories just crushed me. I mean, it was difficult to write those. It was difficult to get those out. And like, it's a heavy emotional toll, like doing all of this stuff and constantly being reminded, but that's why it took as long as it did. It was very easy to scan everything in, and I didn't design the book. I had a friend design it. And, but it was kind of like, I don't want to say working up the emotional courage, right? Because like, that's not what it is, but it's kind of like making myself okay with it enough where I could talk about it and not, like break down or whatever.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, I guess kind of the unforeseen consequence was like, just talking to you about your father and his work with colored pencils is like, this is an okay thing to do. This is something more people should do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like is celebrate the art from the loved ones in their life and the people close to them. And if they don't want to do it, God damn it, I'll do it for them. Right. And my mom asked me somewhere, she was like, do you think your father would approve of this if he was alive? And I was like, oh no. No, he would hate that we're doing it, but this was such a big thing for him. You will drag him kicking and screaming into the best time of his life. Yeah. Right. We were living in Nevada when we got married. And we had the wedding back in Pennsylvania, which planning a wedding across the country, exquisitely stressful. Yeah. And my dad was staying with us at the time because he was a big hiker and he was hiking like all over the place out in the Las Vegas Valley. And so we all had to go back so I could get married. And he was like, maybe I'll just stay here. I'll stay here and I'll watch the dogs. And I'm like, and it got to the point where I was like, you're coming to the fucking wedding, man. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah. And he says, and like, he kind of grumbled, and then we're there and he's like, he smiles, the whole day. He's working the room. He's talking to everybody. He's like shaking hands and kissing babies. And it's like, you're good at this.
Yeah.
You're good at this, but you just didn't want to do it because like, you don't want to be bothered with it. And it's like, I think we would have to drag him kicking and screaming to get this book out, but I think he would be floored by the outpouring of support. All of the friends and people in the community that have reached out and said like, hey man, like, I think this is a great idea. That really was like, that's one of the best things, besides getting the book funded, is just hearing that like this was a good idea, right? Because in the back of your head, you're never really sure. Like maybe people will just think this is like, kind of like a cheap way to make a couple of bucks off my dad's art or something, and it's like, which obviously is not the case, but it's so nice to see the support. And again, like if you have a loved one out there that made art, or art from someone that's not around anymore, like man, get that shit together, compile it. You can design a book yourself in Canva and have it printed yourself. But man, like it is better to me to see like this on my bookshelf every time I walk by it than just see like a thumb drive and go, oh yeah, my dad's stuff is on there. I should take it out and look at it sometime. It's been a great experience. It's been a long experience, but I feel it has been, it's helped me mature a lot, right? It's helped me mature instead of growing older. And so I'm incredibly thankful for that.
That's cool. And has your mom felt that similar? Like, did you ask her when she asked you, like, do you think he would approve of this? Did you ask her the same thing?
No, yeah, she was like, hell no, he wouldn't. we both know the guy that he was. I mean, my mom obviously probably knew him a little better, or in some ways, but I think she'd probably answer the same thing. She'd probably say like, yeah, like he would not want us to do it and then be thrilled when he saw the outcome and touched. And if not, I mean, I don't know. It's like, sorry. But I wanted it, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter at a certain point, is that I wanted to see it. And it's also great. I'm still not over like being able to look at it and flip through it. Yeah. It hasn't occupied a space on my shelf yet. Actually, you can see there's the copies like right over there.
Yeah.
And it's sitting, I'm really excited to get the feedback too. If we get over the line and we get it into people's hands, I know which pieces are my favorite, but I'm really looking to see people go like, oh, this is the one, or this or this. I'm trying to see what sparks everyone else's fancy.
That's cool.
Yeah, man.
I love,
exactly.
At this point, like,
is
he gonna ground you?
What's he gonna do? Haunt me? I wouldn't mind the conversation.
Right. Like, please take a seat.
Yeah. Let's chop it up. I saw Nosferatu. You would have loved it.
Right. I still haven't seen it yet. I really want to get, I love the original so much that I'm just like, I'm hesitant to see the new one because I genuinely, like, I watch the original every year on Halloween.
I'll put your fears at rest. I thought it was very, very good. It's in my top 5 horror movies of the year. Okay. But I think the one thing, and I think you can say this either negatively or positively about it, is it does not stray from the original. Like, you are not going to watch the Robert Eggers Lighthouse version of Nosferatu.
Great.
You are going to watch the 2025 version of Nosferatu. And I think that's it was a good choice. I don't know what Eggers' overall game plan is, but it seems like he wanted to build some studio credit and maybe garner some award buzz. Maybe he's looking for bigger budgets down the road. I'm sure he is, but I'm a big fan of that dude in all of his films, and Nosferatu does not disappoint.
Great.
That's the movie portion of the podcast.
Great. Yeah, there it was. There it was. But like, speaking of horror, and you beat me to it talking about your dad bringing you to The Fly, but like, why a lot of your back catalog
almost all of it
horror.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what is it? I love horror. It's my favorite. Proudly wear it on my chest. It's right here. I
gotta get you a patch. I have tomb patches. I'll have to get you one.
I'm saying, man, I already backed Mongoose. So you
kick me. Oh yeah, I'll send it over to Finland. If not, I'll kick it to you. No problem. Yeah, I gotta get you on there. Horror is always I think it's been the easiest way to get your point across.
Mm.
Right. And I think for me, I wrote an article about this recently in my newsletter. 2 movies came out on Netflix recently, almost like 6 or 7 months apart. David Fincher's The Killer with Michael Fassbender,
Mm-hmm.
and Richard Linklater's Hitman with cutesy heartthrob, what's his name? Glenn Powell.
Yes.
And they're both great movies. I recommend you watch them both if you haven't seen them. But they're both about hitmen, ostensibly. And I think in a lot of ways, they have a lot to say about like how you create or how you express yourself creatively. And Hitman very much focuses on kind of punishing yourself for your art, right? Like what you kind of have to do to create the art that you want. And Hitman has a lot to do with like art as therapy, right? Is like making yourself better or more whole through the things that you create. And I feel like the reason I got into horror was because of The Killer. Well, not because of it, but like it's for those reasons. Like this is like I want to see how far down I can go, and I want to see like thinking and creating this stuff almost like in a form of like mental toughness, right? Like can I pull through this? But I recently, in the last couple of years, I've turned kind of a corner, or at least I feel like I have, and I use this stuff. It all boils down to the stuff that scares me, right? And how the things that really keep me up at night, the things that are really frightening to me, how do I kind of distill that and then tell a story around it without directly doing that? And Stashbox, which hopefully we can talk about sometime soon.
Yeah.
Stashbox is the fear of having a son turning into a teenager. And there's that period of like adolescence, right? Like you're 18, you are an adult. But let's face it, you've been 18. You were not an adult at 18.
No.
Some might say you weren't an adult at 25. Do you know what I mean? But like,
not.
but there are all of a sudden, there are all these very serious decisions you can make that can change the outcome of your life in a second. And sometimes those things are tragic, and sometimes they appear tragic, but they're really good. Like, oh, like I didn't go to college. I mean, I went to college. I didn't graduate college like my father did, but it's like, but that didn't lead to failure and financial ruin. I found my own path. Right. Yeah. But I'm sure at the time for him, it was traumatic, just being like, I don't know, like, what's my kid going to do without a college degree? You know, joke's on him. Like, I'm not paying off student debt. So, but that's kind of my point is that story at its core is kind of about those decisions and the effects that they have and how they might appear horrible, but not be, or they might actually be the worst, all the classic stories you hear about young kids. Like it was that, it was prom night and, they got hit by a drunk driver or something, or someone was drinking in the car and someone's kid got into the wrong car and that's it. And it's just like, man, that is something to be worried about for me right in the near future. So I took that and I stuck it into a story, and by going over and over and over it and hammering down all of the points to really make it scary, I don't know, somehow it kind of immunizes me to that fear. You know what I mean? Because it's something that has to happen. It's something that you have to go through. I wanted to bring this up earlier when we were talking about 2024 and kind of getting through it. I'm trying to become everyone's annoying Dune friend. So I'm currently on my first read through of all of the books. And man, I'll tell you what, I could talk for Dune hours. But there's a part where one of the characters says that sometimes in a situation, there is no winning or losing. Like some things just have to be endured, right? And like to endure the thing is to be victorious over it. The most recent memory is like my wife going through childbirth. Right? You can't win at childbirth. It's not a thing you win or lose. It's like you just have to go through it and get it over with. And then when it's over, things are better, right? Yeah. And I think that was a lot with the end of 2024 is like enduring things. And now it's over. And we don't have to endure it anymore. And we can kind of forge our own path forward. And, I feel like not being as afraid of still being appropriately afraid, but not being overly afraid of my kid becoming an adult is a better way to live my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And as my pal Roy says, like he's 57, still not an adult. And he is from the other side of the pond. So I love that we're bringing in the old English geeky hog himself. So the idea of like not just enduring and trying to win. So the tattoo that I've got here that I can't show it on here. Whatever. It's there. It's on the
I
side.
see it. Yeah.
So there is a Christian band, Switchfoot, and like their music when I was getting into in like junior high, my mom was like, "You can only listen to Christian stuff," and I was
Oh.
like, "Okay, what is that?" And so like that's when my buddy actually got me into Reliant K and Switchfoot, and I still love both. And like, but they had songs that weren't like overtly like go to church or go to hell. It was just the like one of the Switchfoot songs that sticks with me, and one of the reasons that I got this tattoo was like, I want to thrive. I don't just want to survive.
Yeah.
And like that's one of their whole like mantras around their music is making the most out of today because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so like they've got all of these really great like heavy thinking, positive leaning messages in their music. And so it was just like I want to be intentional, and like it fades from black to green because I want to go from being like just black and dead inside to green and thriving and full of life. And so I think that's something that as people, like I think we all want that. Like we don't want to just have to endure something.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be like, oh, we got through 2025. It's like, no, I got through it and I succeeded, and all of the whatever positive words that are leaving my brain right now, like I want to look back on 2025 and not just think I endured it. Like
Right.
I embraced it and I took advantage of what I could and I thrived.
We define our own victories, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like I say this all the time. There's many peaks and valleys to happiness, right? And that's a thing I back when Twitter was a thing people used to use. I used to do Twitter Spaces all the time, and that was my big thing. I want to know why I do the things I do, right? When I started doing comics or writing comics, it's like I want to work at Marvel, I want to work at DC, I want to do all this stuff, and I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And it's not because those are bad things that people shouldn't want to do. People should definitely want to do those. I want to keep reading that stuff, but I realized what I was doing it for, right? And my concerns are not those concerns, and that's also okay. As long as you're being honest with yourself, and as long as you're pursuing the things that you truly want to pursue. Do you know what I mean? And and I think when you look at it like that, I think it's easy to have victories. You know what I mean? Because your victory doesn't have to be, oh, I got more backers or more money than this other guy who did a similar book. What's that? Like your book got made. Your book, that's a huge victory, right? And like, sure, like, oh, well, I got 100 backers and like 30 of them are family members. So like that, where do you think it starts? Yeah, like that's a victory. Like they're all victories, right? And I don't know. I don't think it's as simple as being positive. I think you just need to be realistic. There's just some things you can't change. Right. Yeah. And I haven't like cut politics out of my life. It's impossible to, but I'm not habitually or like obsessively checking my phone to find out what happened next or whatever. And I think it's okay, for your own personal sanity is to kind of allow that stuff to be overhead a little bit. You know what I mean? Like just to kind of not get caught up in the smoke of that and just, you can't ignore it, right? And you can't not do anything, but at the same time, we can't let this misery run our lives. There's too much stuff to be happy about, right? There's too many good books to read, too many great paintings to look at, too many kids to throw around the living room. It's there's too much fun stuff to do.
Yeah.
The
celebrating wins and like not undermining successes that you have. Like those, it's a perspective choice that I think people need to make. And I wish that I knew that sooner, because now that I've kind of realized that of the like, well, I didn't get this big, huge, ridiculously, wildly over ambitious goal, but like I actually had like 17 goals that I did win that I could have celebrated. And I saw a chart just I think yesterday on Blue Sky that had a blank white rectangle and like a yellow finishing rectangle. And it was like, if you get to the end and if it was all worth it, do you? And then the second one was a bunch of like brightly colored rectangles leading up to the yellow one. It's like, did you celebrate along the way, or were you only looking at the final? And I was just like, man, I didn't need to be challenged on blue sky right now. But like, it's so true that it's the perspective of like, I don't need to, instead of focusing on what I'm doing in April, like, let me celebrate what I'm doing right now. Like, yeah, I might have plans for April, and I think everybody should have longer plans, but at the same time, like, don't lose sight of the right now. And that's an intentional choice that I try and make every single day.
Yeah, it's well, I think that's what you have to do to survive in a lot of senses. Life is long. And 2 years ago, my wife and I were very surprised to find that we were going to have our second child, and things had to change almost immediately. And I moved from working from a public facing job to working in my basement, and there's a lot of like change that obviously a lot of change that comes along with that, but like it's not going to be forever. You know what I mean? So it's like, instead of thinking of it as like, I wish I could be out, I wish I could leave the house more. That's fine, man. It's like, it's not going to be like this forever, and I try to celebrate those wins. There hasn't been a day where I haven't been so reminded myself how lucky I am that I get to spend every day with my kid. Right. And then during Christmas break, like the last 2 weeks, like my oldest son has been home every day. And it's like, that stuff that like, I'm not always going to have, you know what I mean? Like, and paying attention to that stuff and celebrating those successes is, I don't know, man. I'm doing more of that this year. That's it.
Absolutely.
More celebrating.
We'll do it together.
I'm right alongside you, bud.
So where, I know I've got a couple, I think I have your Blue Sky linked in the episode description, but you also have a newsletter that you do. That's the Blind Box, right?
Yeah. So I started the Blind Box about a couple of years ago when a lot of other writers, like in my, I guess, kind of class, started them. And the Blind Box initially started with me reaching out to all my artist friends and asking them for a piece of work, like whatever came into their mind, right? Like whatever you want to draw, just draw that. And then I would take that piece of art and then I would come up with a story idea based on that single panel. And then I would kick the story idea over to them to see if they approved of it. And then if I got the green light, then I would write like a short fiction piece about it. And then that was the newsletter, right? It was just the image and then the story, and then that's it, right? And then like a little thank you, and then the artist's links at the bottom and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I did that, I think I did 10 or 11 of them. And one of them coincided with Tomb of the Black Horse, which was the Kickstarter we were running at the time, me and Benjamin Philby. And they were really great, but obviously like that's a lot of work. And I wasn't getting anything else done on top of that, trying to like do all of this stuff. So I after a year, I kind of stopped, and then I really kind of stopped putting out newsletters altogether. But I revived it this year. I've got a couple of new pieces that I'm working on for the Blind Box, and then I'm reissuing all of the old ones as well. And then instead of reissuing them as emails, I'm like kind of announcing that they've been reissued and then putting them up as a blog post on my website. Okay. So that way they have a place to live, because like they were ephemeral as emails. Like as soon as you archive the email, like that story ceased to exist, really.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have a place for all of those. But now I use the Blind Box as that. And then I also put out, articles that I've written, or friends and colleagues Kickstarters that I'm working on, and just make it a general place to like, I don't try to like talk too much, I try to make it short and get to the point.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm like writing articles here and there. I haven't decided if I'm going to do like a 2024 movie list yet, because I don't want to just write them out. I want to like put images and everything, and like this is a lot of work, and I don't know if anybody cares that much. That's why we're all on Letterboxd. Yeah, that's why we're all on Letterboxd. I'll just throw them in the Letterboxd. But yeah, it's been really great, and I have a piece that I'm working on right now. There's an artist named Blackie Shepherd who, oh my God, has done Voltron and Vampirella and Reanimated, just done a ton of stuff. I've got a really cool, I've had it for a while now and haven't moved on it, but I cracked the story idea a couple of weeks ago. So that's like somewhere in the list of this Kickstarter, and the next Kickstarter is like, I got to write like 500 words for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really great time. If you want to go to subscribe to the newsletter, go to ianmondrick.com. You'll see a space for it there. It's super easy to do. And please do that, because social media is becoming untenable. You know,
It's hard, man.
I'm starting to get followed by sex bots on Blue Sky. That's a new thing that I
dude.
don't like very much.
I don't like it at all.
I saw those AI profiles the Zuckster is putting in Facebook. I don't like that at all. I'm talking to you, robot. So yeah, get to my newsletter, I guess, or you find a Discord server where we can hang out.
Yeah. Discord, man, it's such a weird space.
Listen, I'm a full convert. I 100% love Discord now.
Really?
I need more people to get on board, because I'm in a bunch of Discord servers where there is not enough discussion.
Yeah.
There's a podcast that I'm friendly with called the Two-Headed Nerd. Shout out to them. I don't keep up on mainstream comics as much as I should. I try really hard, and I go there and listen to them talk. Like, they do weekly gang hangs, and it's like I learn what to back. Do you know what I mean? Like, or what to pick up. You know what I mean? What to add to my playlist. I learn all of that stuff from those guys. It's a really good tool. I just but it is like difficult to use.
Yeah.
Like, to get started on it. Nevertheless, like starting your own server and assigning permissions, it's a bit of a headache. But once you get it up and rolling, man, I feel like that's like, we just need like that one big indie comic server with like 1,000 people in it. You know what I mean? And then just I don't know. Because I'm not going to do it.
DIY is telling me, like, I've been kicking around that idea of just like starting a very indie comic centric Discord where like creators, because every time that I ask somebody that makes comics, like, where'd you find your collaborator? It's almost always different. It's like, oh, I was on this subreddit, or I was in this Facebook group, or I just was, perusing Instagram for artists. And I was just like, all of it just feels very like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Like, it's more accessible than ever to find a collaborator that could be in another part of the country, looking at you, Chris, or like other countries. Like, this is the time. It's 2025, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the best time to make comics, to find comics that you like, to read comics, to share comics, to spread comics, to talk. Like, this is the best time for all the things. And also, like, there's so many options that it's just like, where is everybody at? Because like, there's some here, there's some there, there's some there. Like, it's hard to just, if we could smush everybody into the one thing, and that's how Blue Sky started.
It's the big rub. It's like, you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket, but I also don't want to have to post on 15 different platforms. You know what I mean? I think the good thing is that you don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, for the longest time, I had a Facebook writer page. I sort of deleted it last week, because I'm like, it's been 3 years of me going, oh, I got to do more work on my Facebook page, and it never happens. So stop worrying about it. Like, I would post stuff on there occasionally. It wouldn't get any traction anyway. And it's like, I don't need this in my life.
Yep.
Right. Like, I've got a Blue Sky profile now. I've got a newsletter, and hopefully we'll have either Blue Sky will get bigger, or we'll have more, kind of centralized apps for places to meet. But that also kind of just feels like it's in flux right now. You know what I mean? Like, Blue Sky does seem to be the place we landed after Twitter, but it just it needs a couple of things, right? Like, it just needs a couple of features to push it over the line. But I think that's also part of it, is just like trying to figure out where you want to market and how you want to market.
Yep.
Too, which is one of the worst parts, I think, of having to do this stuff, right? Like, marketing's always just not fun.
And like the quote that it just has stuck with me. I watched some virtual panel discussion with Charles Soule, who did the 8 Billion Genies and like everything. But somebody asked him, he was doing it about a novel that he was releasing like 2-3 years ago. And they were like, well, this is like a really niche story. And he was like, well, yeah, not everything has to be for everyone. And like, just kept going. And I was just like, what did you just say? Yeah. Like, that's so profound. And that's what now I feel like has become just a mantra for me. Like, not everything has to be for everyone. Like, if you're not on Blue Sky and you don't want to be on Blue Sky, okay, don't. That's fine. I don't want to be on X anymore, so I'm not. Yeah. I don't use Facebook. Like, if you only ever tag me on stuff, I have a Facebook. I don't use it. It's tied to my Instagram. And guess what? I'm using more of my show stuff than my personal stuff at this point. So like, whatever. If you want to get a hold of me, get a hold of me.
Yeah, it's not
hard.
It's not hard, right? Exactly. Yeah, it's not. Oh no, he's not on Facebook. What do I do? It's just like, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think that's it. I think we all kind of need to relax and cool off a little bit. You know what I mean? And I think yeah. I think it's also just, you're right. Not everything has to be for everybody. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing when you're making stuff too, man. Is like, don't make stuff that you think people are going to buy. Like, make stuff that you want to make. You know what I mean? That you find compelling, and that it should be enough to bring everybody on board.
Yep. 100%. Well, I have two more things for you. One is super quick. We got to pose so that I can use it as our YouTube thumbnail. And that's basically so that you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah, that's great. Great. Okay. And then and then the other thing is, at the end of every episode, when I'm out of my official notes, I like to shut up and just turn the mic over to you. So if there's anything you want people that are hearing, watching, listening to this now, in the future, whatever, it can be about Mongoose. It can be about Stash Box coming up. It can be about why snow is better than rain. I don't care about the content. I just want you to have a space to say whatever it is that's on your heart and on your mind.
All right, I got something. I watched a movie last night. I'm trying to catch up, trying to finalize my 2024 movies before we move into 2025. And I watched a movie that wasn't on my list, but it kind of popped up in my feed with Amy Adams. It was called Night Bitch. Have you heard of Night Bitch?
I have not.
Here's the story. Basically, Amy Adams turns into a dog. But the story is a really interesting parable about parenthood, right? And the story is Amy Adams is an artist who has left her career to stay home and take care of a child. And her husband is the one who goes out and works. And as you can probably tell, the metaphor of like being a dog is about like, the animalistic imperative of being a mother. The movie was not very well received. And I understand why. But this movie was shooting arrows directly at my chest the entire time. Because as someone who has had to kind of narrow down the amount of creative pursuits I'm allowed to undertake, because I am, cooking meals and doing laundry and doing all of the stuff day in and day out, it really resonated with me. And I was thinking about it a lot this morning. And one of the things that I try to keep in mind, and this is what I'm kind of leading up to, and this is for all of the parents out there, is focus on the lasts. It's very hard, and you have a tendency to focus on the firsts, first step, first word, first sleep through the night. But there's also a lot of stuff that you give up, right? Like, my son, I have two kids, 13 and 12, because we ran the campaign on hard mode. And the 13-year-old is too big to pick up and hug. And like, you know what I mean? Like, he can't do that anymore. But there was a period when he was a kid, I used to come in and scratch his back at night, sing him a song before he used to go to bed. And he asked me to do that like 3 weeks ago when he wasn't feeling well. And I was like, well, you're kind of old. Now I'm doing it. I'm doing it, man, because that might be the last time I get to do that, right? And you never know when those are. The last diaper you're going to change, the last time you're going to hold your baby, or, it can be the last for anything. It doesn't have to be just related to parenthood. But focus on the last, like savor that stuff. I went to San Diego twice. I went in 2009 and I went in 2011. And when we were leaving in 2011, I was with a friend because my son had just been born. And I was like, I think this might be the last time I ever go to San Diego. And he's like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, you'll be back. And now it's 2025. And Chris, like, I don't know if I need to go back to San Diego Comic-Con, right? It's not the same as it used to be. I'm not in the industry in a way that I would go to meet with anybody out there. And the financial constraints of like going across the country for a 4-day con are pretty prohibitive.
Yeah.
But like before we left, I like kind of stood there for a couple of seconds. I looked around, I kind of like soaked in the atmosphere, and I was like, if this is the last time I was here, I'm going to fucking make sure that I remember it. And I still do. And I think that's really important. So that's my whole thing, is remember the lasts.
That's awesome. I like that a lot. So my daughter is 18. And so we're going through a lot of she's in her senior year of high school. So we just had her last Friday Night Lights cheering for football.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Like the last high school dance in the fall that she just had. Like, we're coming up this year, we'll have her last prom. We'll have her like all of these things. And I'm super cognizant of it because her mom and I have been split her entire life. but like, so I cherish everything that I get, because I don't get the like, hey, I don't feel good, like just come here. I don't get a lot of that stuff. So when I do get it, it means even more. And like, we had been getting together and talking about college, and she's been trying to figure that out. And right before Christmas, she finally settled on like, okay, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And I was like, this is probably the last time that I'm going to be able to say like, hey, let's get coffee and talk about college. Like, we need to figure this out. You need, you're missing deadlines. Like, we need to do that. And so like, I'm glad we figured it out. And I love that we got to do it as many times as we did. And also now I'm like, I don't get to do that in the spring because she figured it out. So like, damn.
Yeah. Lasts are just as important. Yeah, man.
Yep. Yeah. I love it. So we talked all the things. I had a blast talking to you.
Thanks. I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
I look forward. So Mongoose is kickstarting right now until the 27th. It's a 3-week campaign. Last time I checked, it was like 30% funded already.
That would be crazy to me. Yeah.
I think I could be over exaggerating the amount of space that the bar was taking up.
Woo! Yeah, we're almost at we're over 1,300. That's amazing.
Dope. That's so rad.
That's really cool.
So I look
Thank you everybody, by the way.
Thank you
to everyone watching.
Seeing that. Like I think it's such a cool project, and I love that you were able to hang on. The link is in this episode description. So it is 2 taps away. It's super easy to find. And it is also, I've been blasting it out on all my socials. Ian has been blasting it on his socials. So if you still need it, like, hit me up and I'll make sure you get it.
We're not hard to find, right?
Yeah, we're not on all of them, but the ones we are on.
If you can't find the link to my Kickstarter, that is a me problem, right? Like,
so Ian, dude, I had a blast. I look forward to just keeping up with you. We'll definitely be in touch about your future projects because I love horror comics. So
I want to bring my my good friend Frederick, who's the artist of Stashbox, on the show if I can, because he is great. And man, I tell you what, if you love horror, you're gonna want to talk to this dude. Because he knows his stuff big time.
Hey, you've got my Calendly, so set it up.
We were talking about that before we went on, about how good Calendly is.
I love it, dude. I love it. Right. Intentionality. That's going to be it. So,
all right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, for sounding off in the chat. This was a great kickoff to 2025. And what's a good podcast without a good tagline? This is mine. Go do what's good for you, punks. Read some indie comics. We are out of here.
Bye-bye.